Chapter 12:01 Sound Waves. The purple light, with its hallucinogenic power, was released from the body of the king worm, and the whole cave was a nauseating purple. Even if the illusion was lifted, seeing this light still made people dizzy. Zhongyu and the other two knew that if they continued like this, they would still be affected by the king worm's illusion, so the three of them decisively blocked the light from the outside world. However, in this way, their combat effectiveness would be greatly weakened after losing their sight. Zhen Yuanzi, if it doesn't work, let's run away first. We can't deal with this thing. Han Shanzhua shouted loudly. They are not Satoichi. What can they do now like a blind man? Zhongyu's expression was terribly solemn. If he gave up, he could only release the god of death of love and completely destroy this area. Even the king worm with a superpower index of up to 20,000 points could not withstand the lethality of the strongest weapon of mankind. However, no one knew what the consequences would be if the god of death of love was released in this mysterious place, and the polluted area would completely become a restricted area, and the underground Yuanshi veins would be abandoned. The situation is not that bad. At this time, Zhang Yi's voice rang in the ears of the three people. That guy doesn't look that good. The attack, just now, also weakened his breath. Zhongyu and the other two were very surprised. Li Changgong asked, "What do you think you can judge?" Zhang Yi's mouth curled up a smile. Based on its current attack, it is not as strong as before. The three people could feel that the attack of the king insect did not stop, and it had been firing energy cannons to attack the three people. However, that kind of attack disappeared in mid-air, without getting close. There is no doubt that it was blocked by Zhang Yi using Sinluo Wanxiang. You can see its actions? Zhang Yi said, I can't see the present, but I can see the future. Zhongyu and the other three had hope in their hearts. Well, what should we do? You will be the one to command. Li Changgong couldn't help sighing in his heart. He couldn't help but think, if the duel between him and Zhang Yi that day was not a duel to stop, but a fight of life and death, what would the result be? Although his ability has full attack power, Zhang Yi's strength in today's battle against the king insect is more comprehensive. Zhang Yi said, well, it's settled. Zhen Yuanzi, Luya, the two of you should not hold back now, and use all means to contain him. I will find an opportunity to create an opportunity for Go Chun. Go Chun, you don't have to think about anything. When I ask you to make a move, you just draw your sword. Remember, if you want to win now, you can't hesitate at all. You must trust me 100%. Zhongyu said immediately. Okay. Han Shanzhua, brother, no problems. Li Changgong hesitated for a moment and nodded. Then I'll entrust my life to you. Zhang Yi, you must be careful and don't be reckless. Don't worry, Zhang Yi said lightly. He could see the trajectory around him. In 2 seconds, he could see the flow of everything clearly. At this time, the king insect that was split into two did have a much weaker attack power than before. Zhang Yi had a bold guess in his mind. The king insect has 2 cores. So after being split into 2, its 2 bodies are both the main body, but its power has also been weakened. It didn't seem that difficult for Zhang Yi's Sinluo Wanxiang to block its attack. Therefore, Zhang Yi didn't rush Zhongyu and Han Shanzhua to act. He first contacted the people in the Jingwei shadow space. Xin, are you there? Of course, the people in the shadow space were paying attention to this thrilling battle, and they were also very nervous. Hearing Zhang Yi's voice, Yang Xin and Zhou Kuer hurriedly said, We are here. Is there anything you can help with? Zhang Yi said, This guy has no eyes. Can we tell what it relies on to see us? Encyclopedia Yang Xin gave the answer. Although we can't tell its species, since it's an underground creature, there are only a few ways to identify objects. First, it uses sound waves like bats. Second, it uses photoreceptor cells. The skin can receive light, but this is usually a means of identification for low-level creatures. Third, sound. Fourth, smell. Yang Xin analyzed them one by one and gave Zhang Yi her opinion. The king worm is already an advanced creature with high intelligence. Judging from its fighting style, it is most likely to identify through sound wave feedback and sound. Zhang Yi said, "We can't just make us blind. Is there any way to make it unable to determine our position?" Zhang Yi blocked the kingworm's attack alone while calmly communicating with Qinling and the others. Thousands of dimensional doors formed a huge barrier, blocking Zhang Yi and the others layer by layer. The kingworm's attack at this time was extremely difficult to break through a door. "It's difficult." Yang Xinxin immediately replied, "This is simple. I have a sound wave transmitter here. I just need to detect whether the king insect has emitted sound waves, and then I can make an interference band based on this to affect its judgment." Zhang Yi said, "Okay, I will buy time. You start. As for the sound, this is easier to deal with." Zhang Yi first asked Zhongyu and the other two to isolate the outside world, and then turned on the loudspeaker of the combat uniform to play noises of multiple decibel frequencies to the outside world. The noise attack really made the king insect irritable. It made a squeaky cry from its mouth and sprayed high-energy particle rays from its mouth straight towards Zhang Yi and the other four. "It seems that it is not using sound to distinguish our position." Zhang Yi got the result he wanted. Gotcha. A dimensional door was destroyed by the king insect, and immediately dozens of dimensional doors blocked Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi did not rush to attack, but quietly waited for Lu Karen to make the equipment. The king insect attacked them frantically, but at this time its power was severely weakened and was no longer as strong as before. The whole cave was shaking, cut into pieces by it, and large pieces of yuanshi veins mixed with rocks fell into Zhang Yi's space. In the shadow space, Lu Kuoran quickly detected the sound waves from the outside world, and indeed, she caught the band emitted by the king insect. Just create the corresponding interference band. This kind of thing is just a piece of cake for Lu Kuoran. Doing so is like using strong light to cause blindness. After just 1 minute, Lu Kuoran excitedly contacted Zhang Yi. "Brother, I'm done." "Okay." Zhang Yi stretched out his hand, and an arm appeared in his shadow, handing him a large sound wave transmitter. Chapter 12:02 Defeat the Enemy. Zhang Yi thought about it, put the device on his back, and then started it. Zhang Yi could not feel the emission of the sound waves because it was beyond the receiving range of humans. But after the machine started, Zhang Yi immediately felt that the movements of the king insect were temporarily stiff. It was a feeling of helplessness, of suddenly losing vision, just like Zhongyu and the other two just now. Sure enough, it succeeded. Zhang Yi raised a smug smile at the corner of his mouth. Compared with other creatures, the reason why humans can become the most intelligent creatures is because they know how to use tools. You can do it. It's blind like you now. Zhang Yi laughed teasingly. Zhongyu and the other two were stunned. They didn't expect Zhang Yi to bring a tool man with him. After all, the existence of Jingwei has always been very low-key, and Zhang Yi would not deliberately tell others. However, at this time, the value of Jingwei was reflected. Under the command of Zhang Yi, Zhongyu and Han Shanzhua immediately launched a fierce attack on the king insect from the left and right. It was still the previous routine, with more people fighting fewer people, so just siege. The tank was responsible for the frontal containment, and then created a great opportunity for the output player. The king bug had no tools to help it identify the direction, and even because of a confusion of sound waves, it was completely unable to judge everything around it. It was just that when the sense of crisis approached, its two bodies instinctively began to counterattack fiercely. The two bodies over 500 meters long shook wildly, and then the high-energy particle beams shot around like searchlights. But the embarrassing problem came. Due to panic, one of its bodies actually hit its other body. Zhongyu and Han Shanzhua were ecstatic, and they admired Zhang Yi even more in their hearts. At the same time, they attacked without mercy. Zhongyu turned into a rock giant and punched the ground hard, piercing deep into the earth, like inserting into mud. Crack! A giant sword made of hard rock appeared in Zhongyu's hand. He held the shield in his left hand and raised the giant sword in his right hand to slash at the left side of the king bug's body. Han Shanzhua soared into the air and grabbed the right side of the body with his claws. Crack! The king bug could feel the approach of danger and twisted its body madly to resist. Han Shanzhua and Zhong Yu's attacks landed on it, leaving horrible wounds, and they were also knocked away by the desperate counterattack of the king bug. They watched the king bug's body recover quickly. Li Changgong, get ready. Remember to listen to my orders. Zhang Yi stretched out his hand and opened the dimensional door in front of Li Changgong. Although Li Changgong couldn't see anything, he nodded and clenched the long sword with his right hand. The powerful supernatural power lingered around him. The king bug was crazy at this time. Just like a person who is suddenly blinded, helplessness and fear filled its heart. Zhong Yu and Han Shanzhua restrained it under Zhang Yi's command. Then, Zhang Yi gave an order. Li Changgong, go. Li Changgong stepped directly into Zhang Yi's face without hesitation. Teleport. Under Zhang Yi's command, Li Changgong activated his 6 realms without distance. Zhang Yi adjusted the direction for Li Changgong, and his position at this time was just above the left side of the king bug's body. Cut it down, Zhang Yi said loudly. Li Changgong was like a blind man, but he could also feel the terrifying breath of the king bug and the violent energy when it fought back desperately, which permeated the entire cave. However, he chose to believe. So, he held the handle of the knife tightly with both hands and jumped down from the air. Ah! I cut everything with my mind, and nothing can't be fought. Wherever the blade passes, all targets will be cut in half. Zhang Yi didn't know how many cores the king bug had, but it shouldn't be a problem to chop it from the middle, right? The huge blade light cut directly from the head of the king bug, and a thin line slowly emerged in the center of its body. Green blood spread out, and then there was a puff sound. Like a reservoir opening, a large amount of blood gushed out like a waterfall, spraying on Zhong Yu and the other 2. Li Changgong suddenly turned into a little green man, but he did not retreat. Instead, he asked Zhang Yi loudly, Chaos. How is it? Did you kill it? Zhang Yi looked at the 2 halves of the body that were like a small mountain and slowly fell down, and said, It seems to have been killed. However, there is still one. At the moment when the 2 pieces of flesh and blood collapsed, the other body of the king insect let out a very shrill wail. Then, in front of everyone, it turned its head, crawled on the ground, and swam quickly into the distance. It's going to run away, Zhang Yi shouted loudly. The king insect was no longer able to maintain the illusion, so Zhang Yi asked everyone to quickly unlock the light shield and chase it. He took a step forward and came to the top of the king insect's head and sprayed one after another of the void bullets from his double guns to block the king insect's way. However, the king insect's hard-shell defense was indeed strong enough, and it actually withstood Zhang Yi's attack, wailing in pain while swimming towards the crater in the distance. Although Zhang Yi tried his best to stop it from escaping, the big guy wanted to leave, and Zhang Yi alone couldn't stop him. When Li Changgong and the other 2 arrived, it had already plunged into the revived volcano and drilled into the sticky and hot magma. The people who arrived were dumbfounded. Han Shanzhua immediately shot a magic crow wave over, and with a boom, the whole hill was completely blown up. But what followed was just a greater eruption of magma. The scarlet magma poured into the entire cave like blood, and it was still bubbling out from deeper into the earth. The scorching breath was simply unbearable. Even if the 4 people had means of defense, it was impossible for them to drill into the magma like the king insect. Is there still no way to kill it? Zhong Yu's eyes were cold, and he clenched his fists. A beast with an ability index of 20,000 points, once it survives, will definitely become a major concern for the Shengjing district in the future. But now, any of their means are useless. This is underground, not the domain of humans. There is really no better way. We have tried our best. Zhang Yi's expression was very calm. He had done everything within his ability. Even if the task was not completed completely, he could accept it. Now he was thinking about how to mine as much of the Yuanshi veins as possible and then collect them in his own space. After all, the king insect escaped, and it would be difficult to come back next time. But at this moment, Zhang Yi received a strange wave. Yang Xinxin's call suddenly came. Brother, the big Totoro suddenly became restless, as if it wanted to go out. A look of astonishment flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. Then he seemed to think of something, and immediately said, "Let it out and see." Chapter 12:03 The Correct Use of the Big Totoro. The big chinchilla is a strange creature that Zhang Yi picked up on Qingdao. According to Zhou Qir's test, its gene sequence is only about 30% similar to that of humans. This is a very strange thing because it looks like a mammal, but the similarity ratio of its gene sequence is so low. After all, the gene sequences of humans and bananas are 50% similar. Zhang Yi and Zhou Qir attributed the reason to gene mutation. However, more than half a year has passed since it was brought back from Qingdao, but it has not been figured out what secrets it has. According to the test, it has super strong superpowers. In terms of the quality of superpowers alone, it is about 9,600 points. However, its actual combat power is very weak, and it can only rely on instinct to protect itself. Coupled with its cute appearance and the ability to play the flute, Zhang Yi once thought it was a mutated human. Until today, its abnormal reaction reminded Zhang Yi that this guy might have some special knowledge of the underground. Could it be that it is an underground creature? Zhang Yi was a little curious. Or maybe it's a miner or something who mutated because of exposure to the mystery of the Fog Valley? Regardless of that, Zhang Yi decided to let it out and give it a try. Soon, the big dragon cat jumped out of a shadow. Zhong Yu and the other two couldn't help but twitch their eyelids when they saw this scene. Even Li Changgong, who is also a space-based alien, was a little jealous of Zhang Yi's ability. Storage space, and a space that can store living things, is a god-level skill when used in the military field and group battles. For example, now they are tens of thousands of meters underground. Even if it is an Ypsilon like Li Changgong, if they don't get enough supplies, once the combat uniform is damaged or there is a lack of oxygen, there will be danger to their lives during the battle. After the big dragon cat jumped out of the shadow space, the eyes that were always cute released a burning light. That feeling was like a civet cat smelling a mouse, and its ears stood up. It sniffed hard, then jumped directly to the crater that was still gurgling with hot magma. The rolling magma could not cause any harm to it. It wandered in the magma, then plunged into it, and then dug down frantically with its two furry claws. Not long after, it dug a huge hole in the crater. This is not a huge underground volcano, and the scale of the magma does not seem to be particularly large. The big chinchilla dug a passage, then turned around and howled at Zhang Yi. "Does it want me to follow?" Zhang Yi could probably understand what the big chinchilla meant. Zhong Yu said to Zhang Yi, "Chaos, is this your subordinate?" Zhang Yi replied, "It looks like it can help us find the escaped king insect. Should we chase it?" He did not answer Zhong Yi's question, but changed the topic. Han Shanzhe frowned. "Is it reliable?" Zhang Yi spread his hands and said, "I can only say that we can give it a try. It depends on the situation." Zhong Yu said in a deep voice, "Chase. Now, while it is seriously injured, we can kill it with 4 of us against 1. If we wait until it recovers and continues to grow by swallowing the yuanshi or veins, it will be difficult for us to have such an opportunity again." Without wasting too much time, several people decided to chase it together. Zhong Yu attached heavy supernatural armor to all 4 people, and Zhang Yi also fully exerted his ability. Then the 4 people followed along the huge cave dug by the big dragon cat. In the abyss, the runaway centipede tribe seemed to sense the fall of the insect mother and the wailing of the king insect, so they rushed over more frantically, wanting to kill all these invaders from the surface. Humans underestimated the number of centipede tribes. Even the legions composed of the top aliens in the 4 major regions were under extremely great pressure. Huahua was entangled with a giant purple centipede with a supernatural power index of 9,800 points. The waves, fangs, and claws tore the body, and the battle caused the rock wall in the abyss to break continuously. A large number of yuanshi veins emerged from the rock wall, and the blue light lingered around the centipede tribe. However, under the dazzling light of Deng Shintong, its existence was covered up. After a fierce battle, one of Huahua's wings was torn, and several hideous and terrifying wounds were left on its body. But it also bit off the core area of the centipede and hung its remains with a fierce face, flying back crookedly. The injured beast was full of fierce breath. Not to mention the centipedes around it were afraid of its power. Even the aliens in other regions were terrified when they looked at it. Is this the house cat that swallowed the source of the gods in the legend and will be promoted to Ypsilon sooner or later? Among the Tiangang, Tianshengxing Zhou Haojie took a breath of cold air, and his heart was in awe and envy of Huahua. After all, not everyone is as lucky as it is to meet a master as good as Zhang Yi. Huahua's injuries were not light, but it has the ability of gluttony and can recover its superpowers and physique by eating. So it pressed the huge centipede corpse, and its sharp teeth cracked to break the hard shell and began to devour its flesh and blood and essence to recover itself. On the other side, Liang Yu, Uncle Yu, and Fatty Su were also fighting hard. This was the first time that they did not fight under Zhang Yi's protection. Everything depended on themselves. Even the cowardly Fatty Su was aroused by the sight of blood. When a person is discharged from the army, his primitive killing instinct will slowly awaken. He, Uncle Yu, and Liang Yu did not fight alone, but cooperated. Fatty Su was responsible for controlling the situation and then carried out long-range attacks with Uncle Yu. With the weapons provided by Liu Karen, they were able to exert combat power higher than their own ability index. The sophistication of their weapons was so good that even the aliens from other regions could not help but be surprised after seeing them. Obviously, it was no longer a simple modern military product, but a high-quality product made by aliens with advanced mechanical manufacturing capabilities. Liang Yu rushed to the front, followed by Fatty Su's Blizzard and Uncle Yu's guns and snipers. And she had adapted to the ability of the grappling rope and kept running through the rock wall of the abyss. The dragon roar in his hand was wrapped with a blue smoke-like power, and then he flew past one centipede after another. There were no gorgeous moves, nor earth-shattering sword lights, but a blue light flashed in the air, and the core of a centipede was broken. But the battle was not always smooth sailing. Soon, Liang Yu was also targeted by a powerful centipede. It appeared from the shadows, and a black light shot at the back of Liang Yu's head. Chapter 12:04 Metal Frenzy. Liang Yu sensed the danger and rolled on the rock wall several times to avoid the direct energy beam. But the energy beam was chasing after her and was about to cut off her head. She had to push the rock wall with both feet and use the force to fly up 5 or 6 meters. At the same time, she also saw the giant centipede crawling out of the dark cave. Liang Yu exhaled a white mist, which was 1 meter long like a sharp arrow, condensed and not dispersed. The ability of Qi Zone can gather the qi in the human body and turn it into a powerful weapon. Come on! Liang Yu clenched Long Ming with one hand, and the mind energy surged from her limbs and bones, and blue smoke rose from her feet. She lowered her head and ran towards the centipede along the rock wall at a speed faster than the centipede. The battlefield was extremely tragic, and fighting was going on everywhere. There were even casualties among the aliens. Fortunately, they were well prepared, and there were healing aliens in each alien team. On the Tiangang side, Tianmengxing and Yute opened the needle bag he carried with him, and hundreds of silver needles were played within his hands. These silver needles are not only weapons, but can also be shot into the bodies of friendly troops to heal them. On the Northeast 5 Immortals side, Baixian Wei Shufin is a kind aunt in her 40s. She carries a green bag with her, and when she reaches into it, she can sprinkle medicine powder all over the sky. Poison kills enemies, antidotes save people, and can also improve the combat effectiveness of teammates. On the Northwest region side, the ability of the Earth God of War Chiyukuan is an extremely rare ability of the incarnation of plants. Earth nourishes all things. He can turn his body into a huge tree, take root on the rock wall, and then grow long and thick branches. Draw the power of the earth, then spread pollen and heal teammates. Relying on tacit cooperation, they have clear front and back formations. Although the battle is very strenuous, no one died. On the side of the alien army, the performances of several aliens or alien beasts are the most amazing. Needless to say, Hua from the Jiangnan region is awe-inspiring for her powerful fighting ability and her ability to tear apart a giant ground centipede with bare hands. The immovable fortress battle formation of the Northwest region and the Tiangang battle formation of the Tiangang people show strong discipline. 4 top aliens, with a firepower supremacy, Chen Jiahao, launched a ruthless bombardment on the ground centipede tribe. Among the 5 extreme war gods, Chen Lanlan, the sky god of war, and Shaolai, the god of war among men, have shown very strong individual combat capabilities. Shaolai's ability does not seem to be outstanding. The ability of Metal Frenzy is to amplify everything. Originally, this ability was only recognized by the Northwest Region military as an auxiliary ability, and he was designated as an auxiliary in the alien team. But no one expected that Shaolai would develop this ability into a powerful offensive and defensive ability with his amazing talent. He took a grenade from his clothes, sneered, and bit off the pole ring with his white teeth. The amplification power of Metal Frenzy was added to the grenade, and the grenade quickly began to glow, like a miniature sun held in the palm of the hand. Shaolai's left arm muscles bulged high, and he threw the grenade like throwing a baseball to the distant centipede tribe. A few seconds later, a dazzling white light exploded there with a deafening sound. In an instant, hundreds of centipedes were blown into blood and flesh, and even the centipedes in the core area were directly blown into ashes. Almost everyone who can appear here is a genius from the 4 major military regions, and there is no one among tens of millions of people. They all want to prove their strength in front of others, and are unwilling to be a foil for others. But in this chaos, some people have different thoughts. Chen Lanlan's eyes always look at the people in the Jiangnan region vaguely. Passing by Hua, Uncle Yu, and Fatty Su, it finally fell on Liang Yu, the last martial arts master of Huashu country. Liang Yu. The corners of her mouth slowly curled up, revealing a dangerous smile. Liang Yu worked very hard to kill the enemies on the battlefield. After killing each centipede, she would string the centipede's body together with a hook. Gradually, the chain behind her was full of powerful centipede bodies. As a strong person, she always thought that she should be the force in the team. Before joining Zhang Yi's team, it was always like this. But after entering the shelter, she didn't expect the situation to change so quickly. Zhang Yi's strength improved too fast, and now it has reached a point that she can't catch up with. After Hua absorbed the Source of God, it also obviously opened up the distance with other people. In the near future, it will definitely become an Epsilon-level beast. Even Lu Karen, Zhou Qir, and Yang Xinxin have shown more and more powerful potential. Gradually, as a pure fighting faction, Liang Yu was in a rather embarrassing situation. She has been protecting her partners at home, but in fact Zhang Yi has basically eliminated all dangers in the shelter, which makes Liang Yu always feel uncomfortable. She is not willing to be just Zhang Yi's martial arts teacher. So today, with this rare opportunity, she secretly vowed to take advantage of it to improve herself quickly. As long as she can kill more and stronger centipedes and hunt for their origins, her strength will also be improved. So far, the only way to be promoted to Epsilon is the Source of God. She dared not think about that kind of thing. However, in her eyes, this boundary may not be absolutely unbreakable. Just rely on her tempered body. Liang Yu clenched the dragon cry with both hands and killed the giant centipede. The giant centipede crawled on the rock wall, extremely sensitive, and immediately fired an energy cannon. Liang Yu did not attack recklessly. She knew that she could not match this powerful beast in pure fighting power. And warriors rely not only on brute force, but also on brains and skills. She jumped flexibly on the rock wall, avoiding the attack of the giant centipede, and a series of violent explosions came from behind her. It was the rock smashed by the centipede, mixed with a large amount of blue yuanshi veins falling into the abyss. Liang Yu took out 3 suction bombs from his backpack with his left hand and threw them at the centipede like throwing darts. When the centipede saw the weapon coming, it twisted its body flexibly and dodged the 3 bombs directly. Liang Yu did not stop the action of his hands at all, and threw 3 bombs again with his backhand. During the tug-of-war between the two sides, more than a dozen attachment bombs were thrown out. When the centipede saw that Liang Yu's attack failed, it actually raised its head towards it triumphantly and made a provocative cry. Crackling. Liang Yu's mouth corners slowly curled up, and she opened her red lips lightly. Explode. The next moment, the bombs attached to the rock wall around the centipede exploded instantly. The rocks around the centipede's body quickly peeled off, and its body clinging to the rock suddenly became unstable, and it fell downwards with a large amount of rocks. Chapter 1205, Chasing the Dead and Chasing the North. Taking advantage of the unstable body of the centipede, Liang Yu rushed towards it without hesitation, holding a long knife. Once the center of gravity of the centipede's huge body is unstable, it is difficult to recover in midair. It twisted its body desperately, trying to grab the nearby rock wall with its limbs. But along with it fell, there were a lot of broken stones, so that it grabbed all the gravel. Liang Yu took the opportunity to jump down, and its middle door was wide open, and Liang Yu stabbed it through the chest. The steel-like body could not stop Liang Yu's ready knife. Crackling. The centipede let out a painful wail. It twisted its body hard, knocked Liang Yu away, and then grabbed a bulge on the rock wall, and then quickly crawled into a cave. Liang Yu didn't expect that the vitality of this centipede was so tenacious. Just now, a hole as big as a person had been opened in its chest. According to the proportion of humans, it is equivalent to opening a fist-sized gap in the chest. It can still move. Because of this, Liang Yu's eyes became more fierce. The origin of the centipede was definitely very strong. Although it was not as strong as the monster killed by Hua, it was also at the captain level. She would never let it go. Liang Yu carried Long Ming and ran straight to the cave. Dense centipedes climbed over from all directions of the rock wall, staring at Liang Yu with a covetous look and threatened her with squeaks. These twisted and huge insects looked particularly terrifying, but after Liang Yu got ready to fight, she was not afraid of anything. She didn't take this kind of minions seriously at all. Swish. 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 The blue air turned into the sharpest blade light, directly cutting all the centipedes blocking the way in front neatly, and those huge centipedes broke into pieces and fell into the abyss. Liang Yu rushed into the passage, and the intelligence system of the combat suit would help it chase the centipede according to the blood residue in the air. Uncle Yu, who was not far away, saw this scene and shouted anxiously, "Teacher Liang, don't chase the desperate enemy." But the battle here was too noisy, and the signal deep underground was also affected by various factors, so it could not be effectively transmitted for a while. He could only watch Liang Yu chase the seriously injured ground centipede. Fatty Su held 2 submachine guns in both hands, and his eyes were shining with killing. The powerful ground centipedes had been dealt with by Hua and Liang Yu before. There were some small monsters around, and he and Uncle Yu were responsible for cleaning them up. Therefore, there was no big trouble. It feels like the battle is like playing an arcade game. It's pretty good. Uncle Yu glanced at him. This time Teacher Liang is chasing the ground centipede. Let's go to support him. When Fatty Su heard this, he subconsciously looked into the distance, which was the direction Liang Yu left. On the rock wall, the ground centipedes were densely packed. The smallest ones were 7 or 8 meters, and there were even monsters of dozens of meters. He swallowed his saliva. This isn't something we can handle? Uncle Yu also had a headache. When Zhang Yi left, he told them not to separate because the battle here was very dangerous. Liang Yu was so excited that he went alone to chase the prey. If they didn't follow him, what if Liang Yu encountered any danger? But reality did not give Uncle Yu a chance to worry, because he soon found that after Liang Yu left, trouble was coming for them. A large number of centipedes rushed towards Uncle Yu and Fatty Su. This momentum was different from the small fish they had dealt with before. Fatty Su's face turned pale all of a sudden, and he became much more sober. It was okay to let him take advantage of the situation, but it would be too difficult for him to be the main force. Fortunately, although Liang Yu went to chase the centipede, Hua was still there. It had eaten most of the giant centipede with an ability index of up to 9,800, and its injuries were slowly recovering. Its momentum was even more dangerous, making the aliens in several surrounding areas dare not approach. Hua certainly didn't forget Zhang Yi's instructions. Its cold eyes, like those of an evil god, just glanced at the group of centipedes. The next moment, it opened its mouth and exhaled an atomic breath that penetrated thousands of meters of space, directly shooting the group of centipedes into pieces. Fatty Su clapped his hands excitedly. Excellent. Wonderful. Hua looked at him with his eyes slanted. Woo. Although he didn't speak, the meaning was in his eyes. You idiot, you have no future. Fatty Su scratched his head awkwardly. It's not that I'm bad, but my teammates are too strong and don't give me a chance to shoot. Hua blew a stream of hot air from his nostrils, almost blowing Fatty Su away. It looked in the direction where Liang Yu left in the distance, frowning slightly. But now it couldn't go over to help Liang Yu, because the surrounding centipedes were still appearing continuously. If it left, there would be a loophole in this direction, and the aliens in other regions would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Thinking of Liang Yu's strength, it decided to let Liang Yu solve the problem there by himself. So Hua roared and pounced on a strange and twisted centipede that just crawled out from the ground. Liang Yu was in the passage in the middle, like a silver fox in the snow. She crouched and chased quickly. The combat uniform provided lighting equipment, which could provide her with a limited range of light. The bloodstains left on the ground became the best signposts. During the pursuit, she killed countless monsters blocking the road with one knife each. This giant centipede obviously has a special status in the kingdom of centipedes, so there is no second centipede above the captain level. Liang Yu had a smooth journey, killing them like cutting melons and vegetables, and finally caught up with the centipede with a pierced chest. Its core had been destroyed, and the huge hole in its chest flowed green blood like a spring. After being caught up by Liang Yu, it wanted to turn around and fight back angrily, but Liang Yu skillfully avoided its dying struggle, then went around behind it and gave it the last knife. Boom! The huge body fell to the ground with a bang, and it died completely. Liang Yu showed a relieved smile on her face. She walked over with Long Ming and began to dig out the core in its body. But before she dug halfway, a dangerous breath came from one of the exits of the cave. The intuition of a warrior is far superior to that of an ordinary person. Her sixth sense can make her feel something called murderous intent. She raised the long knife in her hand without hesitation and pointed it there. Who? It was not the centipede because the movement was too light, so light that there was not even any footsteps in the air. When Liang Yu's voice fell, 3 clapping sounds came from the direction of her blade. Pa pa pa. Chung Lon Lon, who had a slender figure, walked out of a cave, with a look in her eyes that made people's backs cold, and stared at Liang Yu with a smile. Good intuition. This video ends here. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe if not already.